What's up, everyone? I have a couple products to show you today. The first one is the brand new Flextail Tiny Bike Pump Pro right here, professional, and it's about $80. I've seen it cheaper, but that's about the retail price. And I'm going to compare it to the gold standard, the AS2 Pro right here. It's by Cycplus, and this Flextail is the updated version to their old one. This is the old one right here. I think it's $70. I didn't like this so much. It just never shut off automatically, and it didn't have a gauge and kind of slow. So we'll see the how this one if it passes the test. So this is the new one, kind of a nicer form factor. It doesn't have this nozzle sticking out. It's a little bit bigger than the AS2. The AS2 Cycplus Pro is a little smaller metal case, and it has a silicone sleeve. On the AS2, you can take off the silicone sleeve as you try to run it. But when the sleeve is on, they're fairly similar in size. 120 grams, 135 grams. So what we're gonna do mostly today is test this thing out. How does it do? What's really special about these two pumps is they have a gauge. The gauge lets you set the pressure, so it'll shut off automatically, which is so key. You don't wanna be like checking, pumping, checking, you know, it's tedious. The other thing, so it can do, aside from fix flat tires, which is kind of a once in a blue moon kind of event, but you need when it happens, you need to fix it, right? Or otherwise you're walking home. Is you can check your pressure every single ride, and you can play with pressures to mid-ride. So that becomes a tool for every ride, and it's a better return on investment. So first we will check the accuracy of the gauge, and I will just read off to you. I do have a 29er tire here that is 2.4, a Mescal by the great company Vittoria. So on the SKS pump, it has a decimal point, 7.3. On my Michelin pump, which is pretty cool as well, 7.0. And one thing that's happening is every time you check pressure, you hear that psst, you lose a little bit of pressure. Decimal points, but you know it counts for a little bit. So these two pumps, they have a gauge, but they don't do decimal points. They do bar, or what do you call that? PSI. Bar is the European. So we're gonna check it. So 7, right? So we're gonna check it with a Flextail Pro 8. Okay. So that's reading a hair high. Maybe it's rounding up. And then on the Cycplus 8 as well. So the you know, maybe they're reading a hair high, but we're talking decimal points right now. We're gonna check it later on the real PSI. So the Cycplus is my favorite. Like at least 20 of my friends have bought one already, so you can't go wrong. But it's good to have options, good to have competition, because this thing has two weaknesses. The first weakness is that it's expensive, $110. I do have a coupon code, but 110 is still 110. If this was 50, it would be game over, slam dunk. The second weakness is the gauge is facing opposite the nozzle, all right? So that's counter to all these gauges. And also you have to put the pump facing downward, which makes sense, right? But the typical way is facing upward, so it's closer to you when you're standing up. Go like this, you mean, and you see the gauge right here. And that's if the Flextail has something to add to the arena, it's that the gauge is on the same side as the valve. So it's upward facing when you're using it, okay? So, but without further ado, what I like to do is start from 0, and we are gonna put a timer. We're gonna do two main things today. We are gonna put a timer on the gauge. We're gonna find out how long it takes to inflate from 0 to 24 on a 2.4 cross-country tire. And also, we're gonna find out how many times it can inflate a 29er tire, okay? So that's completely flat. And you'll also hear the noise level of the pump because I have a fairly accurate microphone here from the DJI company. Okay, so now here is the test. So I turn it on. So pretty handy as well. You have an on-off switch right there, and the plus minus is on the side. So not bad on the ergonomics. So it's as soon as you turn it on, it tells you what you are the target pressure is. Okay, and it's 24 psi. And after a few seconds, it's going to tell you what the current pressure is, and it's 0 right now. Okay, so boom, I press it hard. Make sure. So it's good to have clear open valves, and it's good to just really insert that in there. That way, there's less resistance. The resistance or back pressure causes it to shut off early because it creates back pressure, increases the reading. Okay, so let's turn it on by a single press. 7 psi. Okay. So it turned off at what it said was 26. I measure, and it is now 24. Check with the Michelin, and it's now 23 and a half, which is around 24. Okay, so that's the technique we're gonna do, and we are gonna deflate. All right, it shut off. And we check with our Michelin guide. 23 and a half. Okay, so that is perfect to get 24. Then 2 bars now. And we're actually gonna let it fly. Okay, it's reading 26. Third attempt was a little more labored. Check pressure. 23 and change. So reading 2 bars still. And there you go, 4 attempts up to 24 psi, and on the 5th attempt it ran out of battery at 13.5 psi. But now let's compare it to the king, the Cycplus Pro. So getting a little weaker. Okay. So the pressure. So this is 0 battery, I'm sure, and the pressure 17 is what it got to. So there you have it, a full test of the Flextail Pro, and we're comparing it to the Cycplus AS2 Pro. So either way, you'll be good with either product. The big differences are on the Flextail, the gauge is in the same face as the valve, so it's facing you on the upward direction, and that might be handy to some. The other difference is it doesn't need a silicone case because it has kind of a plastic case that doesn't heat up as much. And finally, it is cheaper, $73 versus the $110, where we have a coupon code on the AS2 for 100, so 73 versus 100. So either way, check out the links in the description, and I think you will be happy with either one of these products.